There's a train that passes at night with one rule: never wave back. When I was a child, the nights in my small town were unnervingly quiet. The kind of silence that pressed against your eardrums until you could hear your own pulse. But every night, like clockwork, at exactly 2:13 a.m., that silence was broken by the distant rumble of a train. It didn't belong to any station nearby, we hadn't had a working rail line in decades. Yet the sound came, low and metallic, rattling across the valley until it grew louder, closer, and unmistakable. The adults warned us from the beginning: stay inside, close your curtains, and whatever you do, never wave back. At first, I thought it was just a superstition, a strange bedtime story meant to keep kids from wandering at night. But then, on my 11th birthday, curiosity got the better of me. I crept to my window, peeled the curtain back an inch, and waited. The sound grew heavier, and soon, I saw it, the train. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen, old, ironclad, and glistening with soot as if it had been pulled straight from another century. The windows were lit with a dull, yellow glow, and behind the glass sat figures. They didn't look like passengers. They sat too still, faces pale and eyes fixed forward as though they weren't alive at all. And then one of them moved. A man, at least, I think it was a man, turned his head slowly until his face pressed against the window pane. His features were stretched wrong, lips curved into a smile too wide for his face. And then he raised his hand. He waved at me. The motion was stiff, mechanical, like he hadn't done it in centuries. My heart nearly burst out of my chest. Every warning I had ever heard screamed in my mind. I dropped the curtain instantly, but my fingers twitched, wanting to return the wave. I didn't. The next morning, one of the neighborhood boys, Aaron, didn't show up for school. By noon, everyone knew what had happened. He'd told his little sister the night before that he waved back at the train. His family woke up to an empty bed, the sheets still warm. No footprints, no sign of struggle, just gone. His parents sat on the porch all day, eyes hollow, as though they already knew he wasn't coming back. After that, I understood. The train wasn't a story. It wasn't a trick. It was real. And whatever rode inside those cars was looking for something. Looking for someone foolish enough to acknowledge it. Years later, long after I moved away, I still hear it sometimes. On nights when I can't sleep, when the world is dead quiet and the air feels heavy, I swear I can hear the faint whistle of that train cutting through the dark. I don't look out the window anymore. I don't dare. Because I know if I do, they'll be waiting. And this time, I might not be able to stop myself from waving back. It's strange how the human mind works. The more you tell yourself don't, the louder the temptation grows. For years, I managed to bury it, changing apartments, closing the blinds tight, convincing myself the train was just a phantom tied to my childhood. But lately, it's been harder. I hear it again. Not just in the dead silence of night, but in places it shouldn't be, in the hum of my office air conditioner, in the rhythm of the elevator cables, in the faint clatter of pipes in the walls. The sound of wheels on iron, growing closer. Always closer. Last week, it came back for real. I was in my kitchen, washing dishes, when I felt the floor tremble under my feet. My first thought was earthquake, but then came the whistle. Long, low, mournful. My blood ran cold. I live hundreds of miles from my hometown now. There are no tracks anywhere near this city. And yet, when I walked to the window, the fog had rolled in so thick I couldn't see the streetlights. The rumble of steel on steel swelled in my ears, pressing against my skull. I backed away from the glass, heart pounding, and whispered the same words I used to say as a kid: don't look. Don't wave. That night I barely slept. But around 2 a.m., I heard something even worse than the whistle, the knock. 3 times against my window, sharp and deliberate. My apartment's on the 5th floor. No one could have reached it. I lay there frozen, every muscle locked, until the knocking stopped. When I finally dared to look in the morning, the glass was smeared with what looked like black soot, streaked in the shape of a hand. I tried to tell myself it was a dream. Stress. Exhaustion. But then 2 nights later, I woke to a glow outside my window. Yellow. The exact same yellow I saw in those windows all those years ago. I didn't dare move. The light stretched long and flickering across my wall, and behind it, faintly, I heard the scrape of fingernails against the glass. And a voice, low, wet, rasping, hissed, wave. I shut my eyes so hard I saw stars. Covered my ears until they rang. Still, I felt it, the pressure of that unseen face pressing against the window, waiting for me to give in. The moment stretched on forever. But then, as suddenly as it came, the glow faded. The sound receded. And I was left in silence, trembling in my bed. But silence doesn't mean safety. The silence now feels worse, charged, as if it's holding its breath along with me. I know it isn't over. The train doesn't give up once it chooses you. It circles, it hunts, it waits until you're tired, weak, desperate enough to falter. Until one night your hand twitches, your eyes betray you, and you wave back without meaning to. I don't know what happens after that. I don't know where Aaron went, or the others who disappeared over the years. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see their faces pressed against the glass, eyes hollow, smiles too wide, waving in unison as the train barrels past. And I know one day soon, unless I fight harder than I ever have before, I'll be one of them. A pale figure in a window, smiling too wide, waving at some poor kid who thinks it's just a story. And the next time that train passes, when the whistle cuts through the night like a blade, I'm terrified I won't resist. I'm terrified that I'll lift my hand, smile, and wave back. And when I do, it won't just be me watching from the window anymore. It'll be me, waiting inside. The thought keeps me awake more than the whistle ever could. I don't live by train tracks, I don't live near a station, and yet the sound stalks me all the same. It's not bound to rails, it's bound to me. Each night I try to ignore it, but the temptation gnaws deeper. I've noticed something new: the more I resist, the louder they get. The figures in the windows used to sit still, their faces pale masks in the glow. But lately, I see their hands twitch. Their mouths opening and closing. Their eyes starting to follow me, even through curtains. And last night I realized the worst part. They aren't waving anymore. They're beckoning. Their pale fingers stretch and curl in slow arcs, motioning for me to join them. Their grins have grown wider, faces pulling against the glass like something pressing too hard from the inside. And between the whistle and the rattle of wheels, I swear I heard my name, drawn out in a chorus of rasping voices, layered one atop the other like a hymn. I told myself I'd leave. I even packed a bag, drove out past the city limits. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd escaped. But when I stopped for gas, I froze. From behind the trees came the faint glow of yellow light, stretched out in the dark. I didn't even wait to see the windows, my body knew before my mind. The train had followed. It would always follow. Back home, I locked myself inside, taped the curtains down, unplugged every light in the apartment. Still, at 2:13 sharp, the whistle howled. The windows rattled, the floor shook, and when I glanced at the clock, the second hand froze. Time itself seemed to hold its breath. Against every instinct I had, I felt my body moving toward the window, as though someone else controlled me. My hands trembled, my throat burned, my chest heaved, but my legs carried me anyway. The glow filled the room before I reached the glass. Shapes writhed in the yellow, faces pressed close, too many eyes staring. And then, just as I lifted a hand, almost against my will, I saw him. Aaron. My old friend. His face pale and stretched, lips split into a grin too wide, hand rising in the same stiff wave I remembered. His mouth opened, blackness spilling out, and in that blackness I heard him whisper, "It's easier if you don't fight." I should have screamed. I should have shut my eyes, run, anything. But instead, I felt it happen. My hand rose, matching his. I waved. Slowly, deliberately. And in that instant, every shadow in the room bent toward me. The whistle blared so loud it shook the air out of my lungs. I didn't wake up in my apartment. I woke in a seat. The air smelled of soot and damp wood, the walls clattered with the rhythm of iron wheels. I turned my head and saw row after row of faces, pale and still, watching the windows. None spoke. None breathed. And when I looked at the glass, the reflection staring back wasn't my own. Its grin was wider. Its eyes hollow. Outside, the world rushed past in streaks of black and yellow, but it wasn't any landscape I knew. No towns, no roads, no stars above, just endless dark. I realized then what the warnings meant. The train doesn't take you somewhere. It makes you part of it. You become one more face behind the glass, one more figure waiting for the next set of eyes to meet yours. Now, every night, when the train passes some quiet town at 2:13, I sit pressed against the window. My hand twitches. My smile stretches wider. And when I see someone peeking through their curtains, curiosity flickering in their eyes, I raise my hand. I wave. Because that's what we do. And sooner or later, someone always waves back.